talk to you about hair cutting too. Okay? So now, everything that I'm giving you now is still based on theory and it's based on principles, but it's based on my concepts. These are Madrid concepts, okay? So use them for how it works for you. Base partings, elevation, projection, finger positions. And number 5 is the easiest one out of all of them, and that's cutting angle. Okay? Now, all 5 of those principles are going to apply to any haircut that you're going to do before you open the shears to cut the hair. There's no way that you can do a good haircut, a strategic haircut. By strategic, I'm saying a haircut that you mean to do. Whether it's something that you're creating out of your head, whether it's something that the lady shows you a magazine to do, or lines that you already created, right? You're going to have to always apply those principles. One, I said, was a base parting. That's any way, anywhere that you part somebody's head is going to create a base parting. That base parting can be separating sections. It could be setting up your guidelines, whatever it is. You're always going to have to part the hair, right? Because every head of hair, you just don't comb it all the way down and just cut it. You can't just grab it up and just cut it. I mean, we do it when we showing out and, doing fun stuff, and, but you're going to always have to have a base parting. So that base parting is where I'm starting my haircut. So now, if my base parting is going to need a parallel line, then I just created a section, right? That's a section. Everybody agree? Mm-hmm. And that section comprises of what so far? Parting, right? So a base parting. And I just created a section or a subsection. Now, the hair is like this still. So principle number 1 is a base parting. Principle number 2 is elevation, because you always have to elevate the hair from the head to some degree. Even if it's low elevation, then you're just combing it down to a certain point. All right, but there's still a base parting, and the hair is still moving into what we call now projection, right? Even if it's down, the hair from that base parting is projected down. So that's your 3rd principle, right? Elevation, and then now projection, which just means shifting up and down, over, whatever it is. You're projecting the hair into a certain place, right? Then principle number 4 is your finger position. Your finger position based on where your base parting is, based on what your elevation is, based on what your projection is. Now your finger position sets up your cutting angle. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Now, the problem that most of us have comes within all of those areas. Because if you're doing a uniform haircut, say you start in the crown, and you're going to cut a uniform traveling guideline. Everybody understands what that means?
No, I don't understand traveling guideline.
Okay. Traveling guideline means when I start this section, wherever I started, I'm going to move or travel to the outer point or the inner point, but everything has to be the same, right? Every subsection, because the length has to be the same, because you're trying to cut uniform. So you have to look at hair cutting more geometric, not just square, but in a more geometric form as to, and then my definition of haircutting, let me tell you this too, so maybe it'll help you out. My definition of haircutting is the removal of weight to create a shape. So everything that I do in this haircut represents weight to me. So I'm removing weight. My cutting angles, my base parting, all of that, my projection helps me to set up the removal of weight, and as an end result, to create a shape, some kind of shape, whatever it is, layers, bobs, texture, whatever it is. So, what I'm saying, one of the things that we have a problem with is in a finished haircut, and if we're doing a traveling guideline, which is just meaning mobile, okay, and if it's traveling the same, that means every subsection that you cut has to be the same length. It has to have the same projection. It has to have, the same base partings, the same elevation, the same projection, which may not be any projection because it's uniform, but you have to move around. Your finger position has to be the same, whatever it is, in order to make a uniform haircut. Make sense? This is where we run into problems. Our first parting is perfect. Then the next parting that we go to do might be perfect. But then this next parting is going to be, what's the difference with that parting right there and the other parting that I just had? Who sees the difference in there?
One is curved, I think.
It's curved now. Well, it's not curved, but it's angled. If it was curved, it would be more, but look, it's not straight anymore. You see? Because now your next parting is going to be like this, and it's not uniform. So every time those principles come into effect, your base parting, your elevation, your projection, your finger position, your cutting angle, if it changes in any measure, when the hair falls, it's not going to fall the same. That's why your haircuts are too long or too short. And when I say you, I don't mean, that's a general thing. Cutting hair, you don't keep those same principles in mind, then the hair is not going to be the same. Give you an example. Let's go with a horizontal part, so it's easier for all of us to see. Okay, from that horizontal part right there, let's say we're cutting a bob. Okay, each parting, let's start lower. Each subsection has to have that same line. I'm imagining that it's straight. I know it's a little bit off, but just keep in mind it's straight. So the base parting, and you're going to comb the hair down with no elevation or low elevation. If it's no elevation, the hair is going to have to be cut right on the skin. If you got just one finger elevation, that creates projection. Now everything has to be cut on one finger. So let's use that we're doing. We're doing a bob that's going to be cut with one finger projection. Base parting is horizontal. There's no elevation, but there's a slight projection because I got one finger there. So the next section, and you got a straight section, okay? Now the next section, let's say the parting is still straight, but when you comb the hair down, now you got the hair further away from the scalp or from the neck. Now you're out here. Make sense? So what's that hair going to look like when you cut it when compared to the first one that you cut? Think in your mind, how's it going to be? It's not going to be the same, right? Is it going to be a little longer or a little shorter? It's going to be shorter. Now the next section, you come in, now you back down with your finger on the scalp again. So what's all three of those sections going to look like when they come together? Because you got a long section, then you got a little shorter section that has some layering. So because you had it out like this, and when you cut it, it's going to have a little slice on it. You can picture it in your mind. Now you got a U shape. So now the next section, now this is what we do in the next section. Now the part is crooked. And now we bring the finger position where it's angled like this now. Then the next section, the part is this way, and the finger is going that way. How can you get a haircut like that? So now, everything, the hair is wet if you're cutting it wet. It looks nice, the line is perfect, right? But now when it starts drying, if you blow drying it, if you're round brushing it, you're not gonna see it. It's still gonna look, it's gonna bevel really nice. But in 2 days or 3 days when that lady shampoo her hair, and lets it air dry, what's it gonna do? It's gonna have all kind of stuff happening in there.